Once Rose had recovered from the initial shock of finding a statue of herself in a British museum, she got quite excited. "That's brilliant," she said. "Do you realize what this means? We must be off to," she checked. "Sector Century Room. How brilliant is that?" "Blimey," said a voice from behind. "Reminds me of a girl once knew. Wonder what happened to her. The doctor had caught up with them." Yes. And he gave a Rose a smile that could probably melt even a marble statue. She grinned at him. Jackie was reading the sign under the sculpture. "Here it says it's a statue from the goddess Fortuna," she said. "Don't tell me I've given birth to a god. Howard will never believe it." "Fortuna, Roman goddess of good luck," the doctor told her. "Betrayed with a cornucopia. It says here it's a horn of plenty," said Jackie. The doctor looked amused. Classic. The rose figure was indeed cradling a cornucopia, overflowing with a stone fruit and flowers. In the crook of one arm, the other arm was no longer whole. A wrist stump gesturing redundantly at the group gathered around it. Rose held up her own two hands. "I hope that wasn't done from life," she said. "I'll tell you what, though," said Jackie. "She's wearing your earrings." Rose took off one to compare. It was a flat silver disc with a spiral pattern radiating out from a tiny flower in the center. She held it up by the statue's ear. "Identical, even down to the flower." "That's incredible," she said. "It's so detailed." She slipped the real earring into the pocket of her denim jacket and grinned. "Looks like I've got a future ahead of me." "As an artist's model?" "I've always fancied that." Mickey frowned. "When my mate Vic asked you to do pose for him, you said no." Rose sighed. "Yeah, but on a sheepskin cart rug in my undies, when your mate Vic takes pictures, isn't quite the same as posing as a goddess for some ancient Roman." The doctor had put on his glasses and was examining the statue's remaining hand. "Mm-hmm," he said. "What's up?" Rose said. "That she's wearing a ring too." Rose looked down at the ring on her right hand. "If she's wearing my earrings, why not?" The doctor frowned. "They often made the torsos separately, mass-produced them, and then just stuck on a head. Obviously your sculptor was so admired by your figure that you got to be the model for the whole thing." "And is that so hard to understand?" Rose asked, raising an eyebrow. The doctor sprung round and gave her a disarming grin. "I'm sure it isn't." Rose found it quite hard to tear herself away from her stone double. The doctor pointed out. She stayed there looking at it forever. Then it would never get made. And then you'll be swallowed up in a terrible paradox. So she let herself be led away. Past the giant foot. "Ah, my fault," the doctor commented. "The last remains of the ogre of Heveroa. Free Slakeen based life form. I defeated back in, it must have been AD 200 and something. And there was me. Take that, you evil ogre." And then it was, "Ha ha, you'll never defeat me." And then it was me. "Don't be so sure about that." "It says it's from a colossal Avrolic statue," Mickey pointed hurriedly. "Well, then I should say that." So the doctor passed the Scorpia, past the Rose's stone heads. Their gazes now seemingly to signify kinship to Rose. They lost the doctor in the Egyptian section again, and Jackie went off to see if she could find a postcard of her stone daughter. Rose and Mickey stood together at the entrance waiting. "So how did you find out?" said Rose after a few moments' silence. "Not your usual hangout." "This is it." Mickey seemed embarrassed, looking down at the floor. She opened her eyes wide. "What? It can't be that bad, can it? You haven't been robbing or something? Or have you been seeing one of the girls in the gift shop and you don't want me to tell me about it?" He frowned and no, but still looked sheepish. "Come on, tell me," she said. Mickey put back his shoulders, tended to be a bit of bravo. "Well, I've been doing this volunteer stuff, kids and that." Rose laughed loudly. "But that's brilliant." He shrugged embarrassed again. "Well, there's you off doing good all around the universe. Just what I did at home, that's all." Doctor was approaching him now. "Don't tell him," Mickey hissed. Rose sighed and spluttering. "Yeah, because being a nice person is so uncool, isn't it?" But she couldn't help reaching up and giving Mickey a quick peck on the cheek. "You old softy." Jackie joined him. Her postcard hunt, having proved unsuccessful, and the four of them made their way into the sunshine. And that's what you're getting for now. And to be continued immediately. Yeah, I got you. Well, bye for now. Take care. Don't do anything I wouldn't, said the doctor, as they reached the bottom of the museum's wide stone steps, holding out a hand to Mickey. What, you off already? Barely give me any time to say hello to my own daughter before you're dragging her away again? Complained Jackie, hands on her hips. We'd love to stay, said the doctor sincerely, putting a hand on Rose's shoulder. Love to, love to, love to, love to. But I'm afraid we have a date to keep. We have? Said Rose. Would you have thought that was obvious? Said the doctor. You and me are off the ancient Rome. Hang on, Jackie called after him. I've seen that Rome on telly. You watch yourself, my girl, and the things you get up to. Rose laughed. Keep your toga on, Mum. I can look after myself. Rose stumbled into the control room as the TARDIS lurched into one side. Doctor was dashing around the giant bronze mushroom in the center, pushing a button here, pulling a lever there, doing something energetic with a pump somewhere else. She took a hesitant step forward as the time machine seemed to settle down, but it must have been waiting for that. But as the instant she moved, it lurched the other way. The bed sheet that had been draped over her shoulder fell to the floor, but that at least broke her fall as the TARDIS tremor came. We'll be able to find somewhere to stay, the doctor said, looking down at her from his still upright but fairly perkish decision. No need to bring your own bedding. It's for wearing, not sleeping, said Rose. She sighed. I went to a toga party once, but I can't remember how to get this thing around me. The girl grinned. Nice girls don't wear togas, he told her. They don't? Nope, neither they did. They probably have wear one with Winnie the Pooh on it. Watch Christopher Robin coming soon. Ewan McGregor stars in it. It's going to be amazing. Rose looked more closely at the sheet. In one corner, Winnie the Pooh sat eating honey, Piglet by her side. I didn't notice, she said. But nice sheet she keep. You know, if any toddlers happen to come on board. So what should I wear then? Old Roman god, old fashioned? He waved a hand. Oh, there'll be something back there. Look under R for Rome, or A for agent. She looked about. She said, C for conspicuous. Doctor was dressed in a relatively 21st century suit. A blue shirt. Primrose, not the sort of thing that would blend in several millennia ago. I'll find something, he said. Leaning over the twisted aisle, the TARDIS spun too, as Rose tripped towards the doorway, dragging the sheet behind her. It'd be a lot easier if you fixed these stabilizers to do this thing, she called back. Sailors kept their feet through worse than this, he reported happily, performing a few steps of a hornpipe to prove his point. Rose groaned. Arrgh. Yeah, well, I couldn't do with a rum myself, she staggered off again. The TARDIS finally landed. Rose was now wearing an ankle-length dress in a pale blue, clashing slightly with the greenness of her ill-nauseous face. Bless me. See you later. With a blue scroll dropped over her head, hiding her hair was now elaborately curled and scraped off her face. Doctor wore a plain blue tunic that ended up in his knees, his Scottish River tucked obscurely in his belt. Let's hope that we are in ancient Rome, said Rose. You'll get lynched if you hang around a state like this. I'm sure you'll rescue me, said the doctor. He opened the doors and he stepped out. The first step in the alien world, or any time that never lost its element. However, many times they did it. They were in a town or city, 10 blocks to either side of them. The sky was blue, but the color sort of blue that spring or early autumn. The doctor peered at the skyline. Ah! See that? He indicated on a massive pillar, the figure on the top, just visible above the roofs. Trenham's column, definitely Rome then, unless your state's gone majorly up the world. It stinks like the estate, said Rose, wrinkling her nose. She took a step forward and grimaced as her sandals splashed into a puddle. Out these streets, they're flooded. Is this Rome or Venice? The doctor looked down at his feet and raised an eyebrow. Well, that explains the sink then. Rose frowned. What did you then realised? I thought the Romans invented sewers and drains and stuff. Pretty much, Doctor told her. I don't think we've landed in a nice part of town. I'll say we haven't, explained Rose as a cry suddenly rang out a nearby street. Both of them immediately began running towards the sound. The controller died a second. I lost track of where I am, guys. Give me a second. I'll find it. 3 young men were crowded around an elderly bearded man with grey hair. He lay on the ground, clearly wounded, staring up in fear at the dagger that was being waved in his face. "Oi!" yelled Rose. "Leave him alone." The man didn't even turn to look at her. "Help!" croaked the old man. "Please help me. Just hand over your cash, Grandad. You do what we say, and everyone will be fine," said the man with the dagger. Excuse me, gentlemen," began the doctor, confidently striding forwards. This time they turned to look. The Rose took advantage of the distraction. It was a pillar of large clay jars in the doorway next to her. One soon found herself hurtling towards the head of the dagger-wielding mugger. The doctor stepped in and relieved the dazed man of his weapon. As more jars connected with the two companions, soon all of the 3 of them were racing down the street. Shards of pottery clinging to their hair and clothes. "Ha!" Rose said after them. The doctor helped the old man to his feet. He seemed a bit shaken. "Well, that was hardly surprising. Thank you so much," he said weakly. "Generous Fabius Gallius at your service." Further introductions were put at hold as a nearby door slammed. An angry-looking, red-faced man glared down at the decadent pile of pottery at his feet. "Here, what have you done to my atmosphere?" It was them," said Rose menaciously, pointing at these 3 muggers. The man stared at them, yelling, "Oi, oi, oi!" The doctor and Rose beat a hasty retreat in the opposite direction, carrying grudges between them. "You alright?" Rose asked them. As they reached a safe distance and came to a stop. "Did those blows nick anything?" The man shook his head. But the effort seemed to make him lose his balance. The doctor stepped in and caught him. "Whoops! Stay there. I don't think you're alright, are you? Are you hurt?" No. Just a worry, you know. So I must confess, I'm slightly dazed." The doctor frowned. "Really? Can you remember what day it is?" "I'm not as weak as all that," said the man. "It is the Idols of March." Rose and they joked. "You're joking?" He looked at him. "Am I wrong? Am I suffering from the fever of the brain?" The doctor frowned at Rose and gave Gazdas a big reassuring grin. "No, not quite. I'm assuming you know what year it is as well, though." "The year?" the man said incredulously. "Of course I do." "Really, sir? I appreciate your concern, and of course your brave intervention. And I assure you, I am fine. There's no need for this. Absolutely, you're fine, doctor," slapping him on the back and grimacing at Rose. He moved, "Worth a try. And then I'll work it out later." To her. "Well, clean bit of health on the memory front. Excellent, but do you tell me, when did you last have anything to eat?" He looked thoughtfully. "Do you know? I have no idea. Perhaps yesterday or the day before that." "Then, before you do anything else, a bite to eat. Sit down on the menu. Come on." But we haven't, we better beware," said Rose happily. "You know, our food poisoning." Doctor frowned again. "Alright, let's find something to eat," she said. "Could we find an extra bit of town, though?" He was shook his head. No, there's no time. I must continue my search." Doctor was gentle but firm, almost as if he was a real doctor. "Food and rest. You'll be no good to anyone until you've had those. And then, well, Rose and I are fond of a good search, aren't we, Rose?" "Love him," said Rose. "She tell us what you're looking for, and we'll look for it with you. Deal?" He said. The doctor had already grabbed his hand and shaken it. "Deal." And guys, I know you're thinking, I'm going to let you in for a little secret. 1 second. Wait here at the stream. I'm just looking for something, guys. It's not worth the while. So you're all wondering, what are you going to read next after you finish Stone Rose? I have an Obi-Wan Kenobi book. All about Obi-Wan Kenobi. Who's excited to hear about Obi-Wan's life next? So after this Stone Rose, we're going to read Obi-Wan's book. But back to Stone Rose, as I know you'd all be annoyed if I stopped reading now. Once they got into the main part of the city, the streets were much more crowded. "It's like Oxford Street at Christmas," gasped Rose. The 10th or 11th person shoved her out of the way. Rome's got a population of 1 million. No, sorry guys. Rome's got a population of 1 million, said the doctor. "Really?" said Rose. "Yep." She started counting off passers by 1, 2, 3. "Yeah, alright, I believe you. I think every single one of them is heading opposite direction to us." She hopped out of the way, particularly pedestrian. "And they're all drunk. It's a festival day," the doctor explained. "Is it? Lucky us." The doctor shook his head. I'd have been more surprised if it wasn't to the rooms. Almost every day is a festival or something or other. Rose grinned. Lucky them. Finally, the doctor managed to forge a path towards what Rose would call a small cafe, although probably had some fancy Latin name, like JJP Studios. Most of its customers were buying food to take out, but there were a few tables for those who wanted to sit down. Sort of like Starbucks, said Rose. Doctor fetched a pile of fruit pastries, and the 3 cups of spiced wine, which tried to taste like boiled vinegar with cloves, while Rose led Gracious to a branch. I'll never learn how to pronounce his name properly, guys. Rose hadn't realised how pale the old man was until he saw the colour coming back to his face. The wine and pastry, thank you, he said to them, about the 13th time. How can I ever repay you? You must let me give you a reward. He began opening a pouch in his belt. There was sign of coin cooking. Oh, we don't do rewards, the doctor, putting up a hand to refuse. Really? We do this sort of thing for fun, Rose said, seeing his puzzled expression. So what are you searching for then? The old man's face blenched again, and Rose felt quite alarmed. But he steadied himself, took a deep breath. My son, he said, my handsome, clever son, Optius. He's gone missing, a boy, I should say. A man of just 16. And you reckon he's in Rome somewhere then, said Rose. I do not know. My family is currently residing in our country villa, but it has been searched by the lands all around. I thought of Rome. You know what the boys are, always far too keen for their own good, on the wild ways of the city. But I have looked, and I have asked, and I have begged in a manner quite unfitting for my position, and not a trace have I found. The cafe's proprietor, a tubby man with food stains down his tunic, hadn't troubled to hide the fact he was listening to their conversation with interest. Here, I know what you can do, he suddenly interjected. Oh, guys, we're nearly done the chapter. How sad. Gracious started from his seat. You can help me find my son. Well, no, said the man. Not find him exactly. His heart sank, but I reckon I know who can. His heart lifted again. He came from behind the counter and flapped down on the bench next to Rose. His fishy odour overcame the vinegary wafts from the wine, and she had to make an effort not to flinch. Well, don't keep us in surprise, said the doctor. The man gave a loud sniff. See this girl? See? She can tell the future just from looking at the stars. An astrologer? Said Gracious. That's the very thing, the chubby man replied. I heard she predicted that Hadrian was going to rebuild the Pantheon, and he is. There's nothing but a customer from the next bench for a mouthful of bread and cheese. She told me I was going to have a big row with my wife, and then it came true. Well, yes, the chubby man, but you just been trying to chop the girl in front of your wife? I could have predicted that. Anyway, I heard she's said Denmark's going to fall in a few centuries. I'm thinking of moving my family just to be on the safe side. Rose tutted. Oh, come off it. You're trying to kid. Astrology's a bunch of rubbish. You would say that, said the doctor. Typical Tederian. She raised her eyebrows at him. Come on. You're not telling me believing that stuff. But the doctor shushed her. Shh. As Gracious pushed himself from his seat. Tell me, where is this famed woman? And how can I find her? As the cafe owner gave directions, the doctor and Rose got to their feet. The doctor crumbing in the last of the pastry. He's already to leave. Gracious turned to him. My friends, I am truly grateful for your assistance, and be glad to offer you hospitality in my villa if you ever happen by, but I will not trespass on your goodness no longer. You must be joking, said the doctor. We're not going to miss opportunity to meet a lady who can tell the future, are we, Rose? He looked at Rose and grinned. She grinned back. Not a chance. And that's the end of chapter 1. And with it, the end of this live stream.